I think there's a real sense in which the terms révolutionnaire et romantique come together for the first time really in the history of music, in the music of Beethoven, in the sense that he is expressing and reflecting the political and social values and the environment of his day in a way that struck him so forcibly, and in a way that composers of the previous generation wouldn't have thought of articulating in musical terms. I mean, you can't imagine Mozart or Haydn trying to imbue their symphonies or their operas with a political message. The symphony that's traditionally regarded as the hallmark of Beethoven's own private struggle against destiny, against fate, and his triumph over the odds is the Fifth Symphony, fate hammering on the door. Well, is it really about that? It seems to me that it has very little to do with that. It's to do much more with Beethoven's own political affiliations.
Sorry, I made about 15 mistakes and said that to a few other people as well, but mea culpa.
Beethoven, clearly taking the lead from Cherubini's setting, uses that little fragmentary figure, yapapapam, as an alarm call, as an incitement, as part of Élan Terrible, as the call to arms. And because of his incredibly refined sense of structure and his control of the architecture of the piece, the entire first movement is based on a repetition and a distribution of that theme across the different instruments of the orchestra. And it becomes a kind of hypnotic force in itself. In 1990, I started up an orchestra called the Orchestre Revolutionnaire et Romantique. It's rather a fancy title for what amounts to a freelance British London-based orchestra, though it has a lot of foreigners in it. But the underlying theme of the orchestra and its aim is to bring together the two strands of revolutionary fervour and romantic expression together in one body of musicians, and to relook at the whole corpus of instrumental and particularly symphonic music that was growing up in Germany, or both sides of the Rhine, Germany and France, at the end of the 18th century and the first 30, 40 years of the 19th century. Now, every age in music, as the French critic Fétis said, is a revolutionary age, but none more so than this particular era, because it's the era of tremendous political events occurring in France, and the way that that movement translated itself in musical terms, that it impinged so personally on the lives of a composer like Beethoven and the political events of his day later on a composer such as Berlioz. And between them, the two of them achieved this extraordinary breakthrough in the expressive range and powers of the orchestra, what we now call the modern orchestra. But the trick of it is that the instruments that they were using and the whole sound world that emanated from these two composers is so radically different from the sounds that we're used to hearing in the concert hall nowadays.